I feel like everybody who is anybody know who Bianca is. And so like an introduction for you is like, why we don't even need one. Like you already know the girl. Like let's be real. You know why you here. You know this chica, like this redhead curly hair girl. You know when you hear Bianca Dijkhoffz, you know we know who we talking about, the dancer, out here doing things in America, being on the big screen. Now you're like rocking the world with music. Like I mean, there's just so much I think about you that your reputation definitely precedes you. And it's amazing because you're really one of those people that are really showing, say Maarteners, that you can do anything. You don't have to have this small island mentality. And the world really needs like our energy and our spirit. And it's so interesting, I think, being in America when you are a Caribbean person and just like the type of love that you get when people recognize, that just like authentic magical essence that is like Caribbean people. But I'm so
Yeah.
happy to have you here on the podcast today to
I'm
really
happy
just
to be
like
here.
to go deeper, to get to really know like, how you look at the world and like what brings you energy and like,
Let's go deep.
just
Let's
like
go.
how like music and dance really heals people, and like it's like this
Hmm.
instinctive thing to like our Caribbean culture with Carnival and like all of these movements, that just like they heal so deeply to just like who we are as people, and the music that we grew up with like such influences our like perspective of life. So yeah, man, we're gonna dive deep in this one for sure.
Let's get it. Let's get
But how are you doing?
it.
How's things in LA? Like how's the life down there in Cali right now?
It's different. It's definitely taken some adjusting. I feel a lot better now than I did a few months ago. A few months ago, I was like, why am I here again? Like, what am I doing? What do I think that I'm doing? Definitely went through like a similar roller coaster that I did years ago when I moved to New York. But now this time, just being older and more conscious of my decisions, I felt like it was an even worse experience. I'm like, I'm aware of everything now, and I'm like, what is life? But now, fast forward months later, I'm like, wow, things really do work themselves out eventually. You just need,
Exactly.
our generation definitely have a problem with like patience
Oh my
and
god.
accepting uncertainty.
Exactly.
Like we
Exactly.
always need to know every single detail, and I'm like, oh, I'm happy that like I just gave myself some time to figure out a whole new place.
Yeah, yeah. Just giving yourself the space to acclimate, you know what I mean? Especially like I feel like islanders when we move abroad, like it's a big deal, cuz like where we come from, like we really know everybody, like everybody know your mom, your dad, your grandma, and like everybody up in your business, like everybody there's just like this real sense of like connection. When you go somewhere else, especially when you're like the only one of your kind, it's a different type of like adjusting, like you have to really change and adapt to where you're at because nobody completely understands like what your experiences
Yeah,
are because you're the only
yeah,
one. You're just like,
yeah.
oh, they don't
Oh,
know
like
my
you like one of
slangs.
very few. It's funny though. I always
Exactly.
find my Caribbean people though. Like literally in the pandemic, I met this guy, this producer from Trinidad that lives in LA. He contacted me because he wanted me to dance to one of his songs that he produced. Fast forward 2 years later, we actually meet in LA, and now he's like one of my like few friends, and I'm like, yes, this is it. I'm like, I
I
need my
feel
Caribbean
it.
people, and there we go. The universe is like, here's a little Trinidadian dude. Here you go, have fun.
It's like I'm gonna send people your way. Don't worry, I got you. Just be patient,
Just
boo boo.
patience,
Patience,
patience.
yeah. No, for real. Patience is one of them things. It's like the universe is constantly reminding me, you need to have patience. But it's like the ego. It's like, no, I need certainty. Oh
Yeah,
Lord. Like but then you're right, like, it's funny, the universe always, like, it hears you and it works out, and it's, like, funny that sometimes I feel like we need to go through those periods where we're, like, constantly, like, questioning and, like, trying to get that understanding because when you reach that point of clarity, it's like, "Oh,
oh, exactly.
and it's like that release of, like, "Oh, okay, so we really could have relaxed, we things were actually already going where they were supposed
Right. And I was
to."
just being dramatic as usual.
But it's okay. It's like, oh, okay, we're like moving, but Yeah, I guess like yeah, how is like for you the difference between LA and like New York? I feel like people make it such a big distinction between Californians and New Yorkers. They like the people that are nice but will never help you on the side of the street versus the people that will, but they'll probably bump you in the shoulder if you in their way. You know, it's just a
Right,
different
right.
duality of the American experience.
Why? I mean, New York, like, definitely have a piece of my heart because I never thought about it as my second home until I like went back home to St. Martin and then came to LA. I'm like, damn, wait, I actually really miss this place that I was living in for like 5 years because I realized that was like from 17, 18 up to like 22, you know? So like that was definitely a growing period of my life, transitioning from being a teen to like actually taking care of myself as an adult. Um, and like just being comfortable. Like same thing in New York. For some reason, I just always gravitate towards Caribbean people. For like a few years, I was just alone. I was like, I really like genuinely couldn't connect to Americans. I couldn't understand them. Period. And then I just happened to like find this community of Caribbean people and African people, and after that, like I was like, yes, like New York is my home. I feel like I know everybody. Like the streets are that's one thing I miss about New York. Like the streets, no matter what time, is just alive. It's just an energy in the air, in the atmosphere that's like you can't find that anywhere else. Like LA, totally different. Everywhere is so spread out. Everybody's driving. Nobody's on the streets. You can't find a vibe the way that you could find a vibe in New York or bump into somebody from uh Barbados or Trinidad or Grenada. Like it's very much like, oh, where are you from? Caribbean? Where's that? What's that? And I'm like, oh, how how do you I'm
Like,
like,
are
you
you've
don't
been a human on this planet for how many years now? Like, and you
the
haven't.
amount of times that happened to me, I was like, I don't think I belong here. How do you not know what the Caribbean is? It's paradise. If you don't know what paradise, what are you striving? Where are you striving to go on vacation? Because if it's not a Caribbean, then I don't know.
I
So
feel you.
it's
I
been an
feel
interesting
you.
journey, and like people are like, a little more distant. I mean, nice, nice. Like in the beginning, I was like, wow, like what's everybody talking about? LA people are so nice, and then I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. It's more like be nice, figure out who this person is and what you could get from them, and then show your true colors when they actually need your help and you don't show up.
Exactly. Exactly.
Very interesting. And then it's probably more so that way also because I'm in an industry where you happen to meet people that just want to take for the sake of opportunity and not give. So, yeah.
I know. Entertainment. I'm like, girl, you pick like the hardest freaking sector. We're talking about needing
Woohoo.
a thick skin and confidence for sure. Cause like I can only imagine like the amount of auditions and just like, yeah, there's like people that are like, oh, like, oh yeah, she's like nice, but then really is she like stabbing you in the back and talking hella shit because she want that role over you and you're just like, wait, I thought we were homies. Like, okay. But you have to do that like on the regular all the time and you have to get like used to it and kind of not take it personal, which is so hard
Yeah.
because it's like your work, it's your expression of self and it's like how am I supposed to
Yeah.
not take it personal? But America's like trying to put you in this box of an aesthetic too and it's just like all of these layers to entertainment. I'm like, "Oof." But you doing it, you crushing it. So I'm so proud, man. Like you figured a way that it works for you where like you can still be yourself. You really are championing, being a Straligan woman, over
Ba,
there
ba, ba,
in
ba.
and I feel like that authenticity irradiates, because like this is legit. Like she's
Mm-hmm.
really about it. She ain't playing no
Right.
fake character, which a lot of them
Right.
out there on the West Coast be playing these
Yeah,
characters.
yeah, yeah.
But you're like, nah, like this is like
Mm.
this is real, and I feel
I
like
mean,
yeah, you can
listen,
feel that.
I take so much pride in being from the Caribbean and being from St. Martin. Like, I don't care if you can't understand me, figure it out. I want you to hear me and be like, where the hell are you from? And figure it out and learn. Because I'm like, why am I adjusting to you? I could be like, oh, I don't understand you. I'm not asking you to change for me. So I'm not gonna change for you. Like St. Martin is a part of my identity. So for me to like change my way to fit in with everybody else, I'm like, nah, like I can't do that. And I feel like that's like a part of my like purpose, being like I'm infiltrating in places where like I meet a lot of Caribbean people, but sometimes they don't keep that true essence about them. It's like, yeah, I'm Caribbean, but like I've been here for 10 years, and now like I might as well just be American. And it's like, no, like that would never change about me, you know? So
I feel it. I feel it. I guess like how has it been like expressing your identity as a Saint Martiner in America? Or do people usually just like think like, oh, she's Jamaican, she got a cool accent. Like where is this girl from? But then not really understanding like what it means to be a Saint Martiner because we don't really have great PR, for us local people. Like what does our culture represent? It's kind of hard to point at and be like, "Oh yeah, that's the same partner. That makes sense.
yeah,
I see
yeah.
it."
I mean, it's always the most typical questions. Oh, I hear accent. Like, are you from Jamaica, Trinidad? And I'm like, no, I'm from St. Martin. And I have to explain, yeah, it's a really small island in the Caribbean, 37 square miles. Oh, like, what language do you speak? And I'm like, oh, we're colonized by the Dutch and French. Like, I literally give them the whole rundown. And I'm like, by the way, it's paradise. So if you don't have it on your list to visit, you need to put it on your list. But, it's always the same basic kind of conversation. But I'm like, wow, at least somebody new figured out a new place that is like one of the best places on earth.
Facts, facts. I'm like, I honestly feel like St. Martin needs to figure out a way to track how much of us like external ambassadors are sending people to this rock because I could use my little, remittance check for every dollar I sent y'all way. I'm just saying.
We're not even gonna get into that because that's a whole other conversation when our young people get into government and higher power places when we can make an actual difference
I
because
feel it.
it's not fully giving what it's supposed to give.
I feel like St. Martin could go so much harder than she can, and I'm like, why are we holding back though? Like, we got so much fire, like, and we trying to keep it in a bottle, and I'm like, why? Let it runneth over,
I don't think the
like.
older people, they don't fully see the value in what us young creatives, not even like us young people in general, like how everybody's playing a role and a very important role. I don't think they see the value in that versus like, oh, like Burna Boy is coming to St. Martin, like let's get him to promote the island and let's get him to be the face of this, da da da. But it's like, do you even know what all these young people on the island are doing and how much they like represent and push for St. Martin to be more than what it is in terms of like being in the eyes of the public? But yeah, la di da.
I feel you. I feel you. Honestly, I feel like it's I remember when I was, like, a lot younger, I was, like, looking at, like, all of the creatives before we had all, left the island, and I was like, "I feel like there's just so coincidence, that all of these incredible people with such fire and passion and motivation for all of these different things were all sort of, like, born in this, like, one era in Saint Martin, of all places in the Caribbean." And, like, we all, like, through all of these different activities, whether it be dance and the arts and, like, debates and like all these competitions and stuff that like were held on the island, you get to intermingle and like influence each other. And like it's interesting when you see us now sort of like being these different influencers in different sectors, whether it be in entertainment or in sports or in like law or even just like in like technology and all of like even music and all of these different
Yeah.
avenues. It's like crazy to me that they still don't see the value because like it seems so obvious then and it's like so obvious now, and I'm just like if they just supported even a little bit it would like amplify all of those people so much to an extent that like I feel like they don't understand like this is really how you gain influence, like
Girl,
in the world.
don't make me put these people on blast, okay? Because enough times I had big things happening and it was like, let's show up to take a picture. Meanwhile, I don't know this person. I don't really know what they did. I don't really know to what extent they really even doing what they're doing. But like, we heard that this person is supposed to be somebody that's doing great things. So, okay, pull out the camera real quick. Chi, chi, chi. Oh, so proud of you. Keep doing what you're doing. Simon support you. We support you. Okay, bye. And I'm like, the support was what in the picture? In the post? Okay, thanks. I appreciate it.
Like all the hard work in the background, like all your conditioning, all the classes you have to take, all the training to keep your body agile and flexible, like all of the work going to auditions, finding auditions, having an agent, you know what I mean? Like having to pay for all of that, doing marketing, because social media, all taking the time recording videos and not cheap, all them outfits looking cute, having to keep the hair looking fresh, all of this, come at a cost. And you're right, like a photo, I'm like, this is nice, but the bank account, could use a little help just to facilitate the dream. That's all I'm saying.
No, legit. It's crazy, but I guess, and you know what? I can't say I haven't fully been supported because, like, when I did leave St. Martin initially to go do the training program in New York at Broadway Dance Center, I did get a scholarship. I
Sweet.
did get supported to pay for this program. So, you know what? Like, they've been there for a certain part of my journey, but it's like, I don't really know who's genuinely keeping tabs. And the unfortunate part is like, if you want something, I mean, maybe it's not unfortunate, but to a certain extent, kind of like if you want something, you have to really like put all this information together and show like, hey, like, here's what I do, here's what I have to offer, like, take a look, as opposed to like people just already being in that mindset of like, the new generation is the ones coming up, the ones that we need to take care of, the ones that are, feeding us ideas on how we could do better. Let's, okay, boom, this person, that person, okay, great, let's bring them in, let's have a creative conversation about how we could like do something different to amplify them and us at the same time. But it's like, there's no like really like innovative way of thinking. It's kind of just like, oh, you approach us because this, that, and that. Oh, let me see what you. Oh, okay, that's great, nice. Yeah, we'll get back to you. It's like nobody's really like thinking like outside of the box as time evolves.
I feel you. I feel you. And that's the only part that don't be making sense, because I'm like, how is it you birth such creative people, but then you not gonna listen to them until like the external world gives them validation that you're like, oh,
Oh, oh God, talk about it.
oh, oh, the rest of the world cares. Okay, let's care now.
Let's care now. Oh my God, talk about it.
And I'm just like, oh, so we gonna act brand new in this relationship, boo boo? Like, let's hold up. Like, as much as I love you, I'm like, yes, come here. But I'm like, where you been though? Like, I've been waiting for you this whole time. Like,
Yeah, and you know what? You know what? Like I'm definitely somebody that witnessed that firsthand because I've been dancing my whole life. I've been building
you've been
myself my whole life
consistency right
consistent
here.
without
Yeah.
even really like looking at it that way until now, obviously. But like, like people have known my name, known what I'm doing, watched my journey, and it's like it honestly, you're right. It was only when I left, and even like I was doing things, but it wasn't enough. Really and truly, it was only when like, oh crap, this girl from St. Martin and Sean Paul music video. Then it was like, like we've been know her from since 10 years ago, and like look at that, and it's like, yo, I've been doing this. Like, where were
Like, this has
you?
just been stepping stones,
This,
like,
yeah, this wasn't like from one day to the next, and it's like, okay, great, I appreciate all this like hype now, but like how were you not keeping tabs? Like, I'm like one of so many. Like, how were you not keeping tabs on like what was going on? Like, to
yeah,
be a
exactly.
support. No, because guess what? It was a joke at first when it was like, oh, Bianca's not going to college, she's going to try to dance. It's like, this what?
Like,
this
yeah,
this girl,
failure, like, why would she waste her future not going to a college like everybody else, like, this
her
ain't
parents
right.
crazy to
Yeah,
support
exactly.
her. She going to go dance. What kind of life is that? And then it was like, oh wow, this girl actually
She
making
did
it.
it. Mhm.
Whoa, okay. Then all of a sudden the hype started. So I got to see that firsthand from like nobody really out here supported me. And then when I quote unquote made it, it was like, yo. So like I even when people always ask me like, what advice would you give to like young artists coming up on St. Martin? Like, what would you? And I'm like, honestly, like if you want something, you're gonna have to make that on your own
Go for it. Don't
because
compromise. Go for it.
go
Don't give
for
up,
it.
because they will tell you you will fail. They've said it. to everybody. They like literally are St. Martin's number one consistent trait is crushing dreams.
Oh,
I don't know how many interviews I've heard where they're like, "Oh yeah, they told me I shouldn't do that, or
oh,
I
girl,
can't do that, or I can't. Nah,
girl,
don't study that. Like you're not gonna make it. Or no, you need to do the safe traditional path. That's not really gonna get you what you want. You're gonna be miserable, but it's okay because we made that for everybody. So at least it's equity, equity
girl.
in a shitty experience." But no, I'm so grateful that like your parents were there really to support
They,
your dream because
yeah,
I feel like strong parents, bro, could really like get you through the worst of times when you're
exactly.
like, I
Yeah,
don't know, but your mom is like, you got it, boo boo, and you're like, you know what,
yeah.
mama, I do got it.
Exactly. Honestly, if it wasn't for my parents and my dance teachers, I don't think I would have been brave enough to take a chance. Because, like, when those rappers in the music video and like the songs be like, yeah, my teacher told me I wasn't shit. And I'm like, you hear it over and over and you're like, the teacher probably didn't tell you nothing. But it's like, I experienced that. I experienced my teachers being like, what are you doing? Like, literally straight up, like, if I was your parent, I would never let you make that decision. Like, why are
Good thing
you
you're not my parent then,
why are you like taking more dance classes? You need to stop dance class if you want to pass this CXC. And I'm like, do you guys know what my dream is?
Like,
You
do you
telling me to
understand
stop what
what
I've
makes
been
me
doing?
happy? Like,
Like, you know? So it's like if it really wasn't like for my obviously like and that's the hard part too, like, oh, like what do you tell young up and coming artists? Like it's like, damn, if you don't have any support, I'm not gonna lie, it's hard. It's hard to go and be like, oh, like where am I going to find this money now to go attend this school, to go help me learn more about this? Like it's like if you don't have any support under you, like I can't lie, like it's hard. Like what do you do? You know? So I just hope that like, us we like building a foundation to make these things more normal, like pursuing the arts or just pursuing like a non-conventional career. Like I hope that like we are building a foundation for people to like see it more as a norm so that the next ones coming up could have it easier and actually have more support, because that's what it's about. It's not like, well, one person, two people made it out. It's like, okay, like how we gonna make this normal now? Because clearly we know now that we have mad talented people and we actually need to support them from young because they do have the potential to make it. Even if it take freaking 20 years, because hello, I've been dancing my whole life.
literally whole life. Like even when I was like emotion, I remember Bianca right there, like and killing it. Like telling you forever ever amen. This girl has been dancing. And that's so crazy because like I look at dance as like really this like innate thing of like our humanity. Like you play music and the body dances. Like it's just like this like thing. It's like speaking, the body just moves, and it's like such a beautiful thing because dance can like say so much that words can't. It can really like be this medium of expression of like such a deep raw emotion.
Hmm.
And you can see like how dance really can be a therapy for like all kinds of
Oh
people,
yeah.
especially like for women. Like I always see like when women are trying to like tap into their sexuality for their divine energy, like they go to dance,
Yeah.
and it's usually like hip, a lot of root chakra movements, but it's like this form of like sacred geometry that allows people to sort of like realign themselves and really tap into like this primal part of our essence. And
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
curious, like as someone that's like been a dancer, has loved dance, has explored different styles of dance, how do you look at dance as this way of like bringing people together, really like breaking down barriers, really like screaming this like essence of like our humanity, when we
Yeah.
move our bodies. And yeah, just like how do you even think of dance, as someone that loves it?
It's so fun. I've been through so many different phases with dance. And I would say like, you know, right before leaving St. Martin, I would say that that was my prime in terms of being like in St. Martin. Like that was like my high. That was a time when I was like, yes, like I know this is what I want to do, and I just always had so much joy, like going to class and trying to be better than I was yesterday, and like it's just a feeling that you can't describe. But then when I did go to New York, I completely lost that. I was like, why am I doing this? Like, I'm like, this sucks. I hate this. 12 classes a week. I'm sore. I have to walk everywhere. Like it was like the weirdest experience ever. Like I started to just hate dance. And like in the industry they would always tell you like you have to constantly remind yourself why you do what you do and go back to the root of it, because when you make what you love your job, and then on top of that it's competitive and there's so many other factors that come to play, like you can really start to hate it. And it was, I had my moments when I would be like so happy, and that was like really like being in the Afro and like the dance hall classes. Like that would just bring me back to like the core of something that I was like, wow, like I can't explain how this makes me feel, but I feel good and I'm gonna stay here, you know. But then it's like when I went home for the pandemic, and like I went from like almost hitting my peak to being like, oh, okay, the world is shut down. Sorry, bye. I That's when I really remembered how much I love dance, because being stuck in the house, I was going crazy. I was like, my world is falling apart. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do in my life. I don't know how long this COVID is going to be around. Like, what is happening to my life right now? Like, this is what I do, and I can't do this anymore. And then, like, I really just started to, like, do it for me. And then that's when I was like, whoa, this is healing me right now. Like, this is making me feel better. I'm no longer caught in my head. My body feels so like stretched, and like I feel so rejuvenated. And I was like, wow, this thing is really taking care of my mental health right now. I'm like, wow.
What?
I'm
It's
like,
like it's clicking the awareness. I'm like, oh my gosh.
yes, the
Yeah.
awareness, it was finally clicking. I was like, wait, this is what it's been doing for me the whole time. And then that's when I was like, okay, no, I can't stop, because this is literally keeping me sane. And yeah, like it was a nice time being back home too, like being able to collaborate with, other dancers from the island, and like provide opportunities, and like, also take in information, because I was no longer trained, and I was no longer in that space of like constantly taking in information. But then I also came to another plateau when I was like, okay, I'm stagnant now, and I need to go. And that's why I decided to leave, because I was like, I'm not feeling this. I could no longer fuel myself. I feel like I'm repeating the same things over and over again. Like, I need to get back into an environment that's like fire, passion, competition in a good way, because it's like those things like drive you to just like push yourself to be better. And it's so funny because like now I'm in this training program again. And like the other day we got feedback from this choreographer, Chris Brown's fucking choreographer, okay? And he's like, you need to keep dancing. And I'm like, I've been dancing my whole life, but thank you so much for letting me know that I still need to continue training. And I'm like, hit to the heart, you know? Because I've been doing this my whole life, but it's just a reminder, like, okay, I could have taken that and been like, I can't dance anymore. My life is over. Chris Brown choreographer don't think I can dance. But then I was like, you know what? It's actually really not that serious. Like, you haven't trained for 2 years. You haven't been in a professional competitive setting for 2 years. Has been pushing you. Just flow and just do what you need to do. So, I mean, yeah, back to like the initial statement, which is like, yeah, like I'm definitely an advocate for people moving their bodies, taking physical exercise serious, because you don't realize until you start how much that is healing for your mental, spiritual, physical journey, for your heart. So, yeah, shout out to dance.
And hey, I mean, I didn't. He said you got to keep it, keep at it. He didn't say you suck. He was just like, girl, I see you got even more potential in there.
Right,
And
which
you're
is
just
true,
like,
which
I
is true.
gotta bring it out, bring it out.
Bring it
But
out, bring it
no, I
out.
feel like the way you talk about as it as healing, and it like really puts you in the moment. I feel like I see the parallels like in yoga. That's been like my thing. And like, yeah, just like seeing how the body stretches and moves and like all of these different forms, and like it really forces you to have to put your mind in the moment, because you can't be anywhere else, otherwise you're gonna miss the move, miss the tempo, be
Hmm.
offbeat. And I think like it's interesting when we live in the moment, it's like the sanest place for us to be, and it like really like shuts the mind of like all of this all this excess stuff
Yeah.
that's there, because you're focused, and like that clarity, it's so peaceful and relaxful and blissful. And I feel like that is where, like, you have that opportunity for, like, flow state and the healing that then comes from that, because 'cause you're just,
Yeah,
like, going
yeah.
with the flow of what your body does when it moves, and, like, I don't know, like, when you can just feel it, like you say, like, you don't even know how to describe that feeling, but it's like, I know what you're talking about, because it's just,
Yeah.
like, when you fall into it, at the end, it's like that feeling of euphoria when you're just like, "Oh my god, like, I did a lot of work, but, like, it feels incredible." Like, it doesn't feel taxing and draining. It kinda makes you feel refreshed and energized, which is, like, incredible, because it's like, why wouldn't you wanna be in that state all the time, you know? And it's like, we spend so much time just like, ugh, or like, sitting down, or I don't know, not really focused on our mental health and simple things as moving.
Yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
really puts you back in that moment, and you can kinda
Mhm,
just be at ease,
mhm.
grooving with things.
Even the fact that you could like whatever you're going through emotionally, you could put that in like how you move your body, and that feels good if you can't put it into words to be able to feel that through your body. And it's so weird, but that is it. That's healing. That you could like literally like I can't process this mentally. I'm gonna flow it through my body, and I'm gonna feel better after this. Like that's crazy to me.
I know. It just, to me, it's like, that is like, why are we not doing more of that? You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Because it's like, but then I think, like, in Carnival, like, I feel like Carnival is our way of sort of like letting go of a lot of like the traumas that we experience as Caribbean people. And I wonder sometimes if that's why we so happy and jolly, is because like dance and music and like really tapping into like our physiological experience and like really moving and grooving, it really shakes all of that stuff out of the body, and
Yeah.
you like are left feeling so just like relaxed and energized, and it's a social experience, which is like even more, I think, it adds just another layer of dimension to it as well, because you're like doing it with your community, and there's like
Yeah.
something tribal about
Mm-hmm.
that, and then when you have like the beat, and it's just like you see it like in stages when people are moving in synchronicity, just like the power of that, like, it's just,
Yeah.
I'm just like, how do you not see it? Like, I'm just like,
Mm-hmm.
it's incredible to just visualize
Yes.
and see it, and then to be a part of it, then it's, like, contagious.
Mm-hmm. Even though there's two sides to that because it's weird if you talk to older people from St. Martin, they would always say like back in the day, everybody would be dancing, whatever party you go to, whatever. I don't know if you experienced this, but like one of the main complaints in my friend group back home is that like why are people standing up? Why are people not vibing? And honestly, like that is natural to who we are as Caribbean people. But for some reason we have this thing now where it's like we so again caught up in our minds about like what other people are seeing and what they might think and what they might say that we like suppress ourselves, which is why in Carnival everybody's going crazy because for some reason that's the acceptable time for us to wild out and nobody was saying nothing for the most part, which is weird. Like eh, I don't know when that became a thing. Like I remember again, when I was living in New York and I would come home for vacation, I would go out and I would be dancing on the dance floor. And I realized, like, wow, like I'm the only person out here like vibing right now. Like, what is this? You know? And then living there for 2 years, I started to feel suppressed. I was like, I'm like, I'm not gonna dance right now. It's just too much because everybody's just standing up looking at me anyway. And I'm like, but this is not me, like everybody just started to like feel this like energy among each other that's like is an unspoken word like don't do too much, stand up and just
Just be
vibe,
chill,
just be
like, don't
chill.
be extra, just,
And I'm like,
keep it cool.
why?
Yeah, like, why? Why are we pretending? I don't get it. It's like the older we get, people lose touch with their inner child, which just wants to be free, you know what I mean? And you become like, you start trying to be somebody instead of being. And it's
Oh
like
wow,
it really fucks with your head, like, and it
it
gets to the
does.
point where, like, you stop being yourself because you're like, "Oh,"
Exactly.
like, you're trying to be this person instead of just being, just, like, having
Yeah,
fun, just, like, being in the moment, like, nobody care about you that much, I promise, okay?
exactly.
Like, we all got shit going on, and it's just like, yeah, just to be free and dance like a kid, like, just didn't care who was watching but walk up into baby boy, you know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like, that is the stuff that just like it makes your soul just like pour with love, but then you
yeah.
get so caught up. I
And
feel
take
it.
take that to another level too. Like there's probably a lot of people who don't even really St. Martin people leave St. Martin and they find themselves abroad because they finally release that sense of like, who am I? Who's my last name? Who's my family? And it's like, no, nobody out here gives a shit who I am, what I do. Wow, what do I really want to do? So a lot of people back home don't even really fully know themselves because you just grew up in this small bubble of like, well, this is how we are, this is what we do. And then you leave and then you're like, wow, like this is me unapologetically, and now I know that. And I think like it's unfortunate to say that people have to leave to get to that place, but it seems a lot of times that they do, and I don't know why. And I wish that that could be different because everybody deserves to just like be free. But for some reason in our community right now, people don't feel that they can fully do that. And I understand there's a lot of
Yeah.
like, oh, who's your parents? What's your last name? Like, what are you doing? Da, da, da. And then your information is just out. And I guess that just comes from living in a small place sometimes. But hopefully that's something that could change. Like me and
Yeah.
me and my friend group, we go out and we don't care how we look. It's like we just having fun. We like
Yeah.
genuinely happy. We vibing. Like, why would anybody feel a way about that? Like just do you, be you. Like when you always ask older people like what would be your advice for, it's like I care too much about what other people think, and I realize like, wow, I live half of my life for other people, and then you just get to this point where you're like, F it, like it's
Exactly.
not about anybody else but me and how I feel and my experience on this freaking
Exactly.
earth.
Exactly.
Oh,
Paradise.
you know.
Freaking paradise. Like it to me, like the fact that we even exist and can have these conversations is such like a gift in it of itself that I'm like, why would you ever want to play it safe and be boring? But it's like I understand that like like the compulsion within yourself to like want to just fit in and just be, low key and not like rock the crowd. But then I don't know, I just like I couldn't do it. Trying to do it like makes you just like anxious and just sad and demotivated. And I was just like, nah, like this needs to change. Like this is
Yeah.
unacceptable. We cannot, I'm like, this is just not sustainable. I cannot keep living like this. And
Mm-hmm.
I feel you when you get to that point where you're like, fuck it, I don't care. Like I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
do me. I'm gonna live for me because at the end of the day, I'm the only one living this experience through my eyes. Like I should have that loving kindness to myself because I want other people to also have that. And it's like if I can't even do it for me, how can I expect anybody else to be able to be brave enough to do it for themselves? And so when you see people that like just don't care and like you just like do whatever and you have fun, I feel like that energy radiates and it
It
makes it okay
does.
for people to be like, you know what? I'm gonna have fun too. Like I see Bianca out there, having a blast. Like I want to go dance. Like
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. But even that within itself took me a long time to get there because again, growing up on St. Martin, like I feel like I was suppressed in a lot of ways. Like it was like growing up and starting to go out, it was like, oh, like this whole thing, when you light skin, you're a white girl on St. Martin, so it's like white girls can't do that, white girls don't do that, and it's like I feel like there was so much things that were put onto me from a very young age that made me like very suppressed. Like I was like I didn't want to be that extra person. I didn't want to be that different person. Again, same thing. I wanted to fit in. I wanted to have friends. I wanted to like belong to something. So that means because I already look different, don't do too much because when you do too much, people are already going to call you out. I was never that girl in the middle of the dance floor having a ball, having a good time. In my heart, that's always what I wanted, but it was like all of these thoughts and ideas that other people placed onto me that kept me like, again, like so suppressed until I realized like, Bianca, like in your heart you just want to dance and explode and be free. Like go put that energy out there. And again, that only came when I found myself outside of St. Martin. So
Wow.
I could only imagine like, how many people go through the same thing, because like people again like have this image of me as like this outgoing, like I always been. If you know me from back then like, yeah, in dance class I'm there, I'm focused, I'm doing what I need to do. Out socially, when it was time to just express me, you wouldn't catch me. I had anxiety in the back, like, oh gosh, all these thoughts, and it took me years to realize like, girl, what is going on? you know? And like that's a whole journey within itself. But like,
I feel you. I feel you.
yeah,
Like
girl.
when you reach that point in your voice where your inner child screams so loud, like, girl, what is going on? Oof, I felt that. I felt
Yeah,
that.
right?
Yeah, because you just like you realize you're like, wait, something changed here. Like somewhere in this journey, something changed. And it's so incredible when you have that awareness to realize that something changed so you can actually reflect and be like, okay, so where in this journey of mine did that change start to pick up? And you're like, oh crap. I realize now it was all them
Mm-hmm.
little things that those people said that you didn't think really mattered, but low key,
Yeah.
it did get to you. It did get to you, and you
Yeah.
changed because of that. And you changed and you changed and you changed until you reached this point where you were like, hold up, wait, no, no, this isn't me. This is not who I know I am. And like
Mm-hmm.
when you realize and you can then release, like, oof, I felt that. Ooh,
Yeah, it's
so
powerful.
beautiful.
It's powerful. And I think that like that's probably what the issue is on St. Martin. Like more people need to like have that like I don't want to call it awakening, but like that like moment of like awareness of like there is like a dissonance in who I'm being and who I really am, you know, and like being honest enough with yourself to recognize like what is you and what is not, and like forming your life based off of that, you know. But I understand it's hard, like, because again, so many things come with that. Like, you want to have community, you want to be accepted, you don't want to be that weird, stand out person, you know. But it's amazing when you could really just be like, yo, like, right now at least, because 5 years from now you might be like, ah ha ha, I was 25 and I thought I knew myself and jokes, and now I know myself. Like
It's
it's
a
just
learning process, a
constantly,
learning
yes,
process.
it's
We
just constantly
discovering.
this evolution.
Exactly.
But at least in the moment you can say like this is as close to who I think I am as possible, and like it's authentic, and
Yeah.
it feels good, you know.
I feel it. I feel it. I'm curious, you mentioned like kind of going through that process of like discovering who Bianca was, and like tapping into like our inner child of like this real, like just full creative spirit that really just wants to scream, love and just like all of this, just like good vibes out into the world. And at least for me, I know like when I had to have that recognition of like this person that I was trying to be versus like who I really was, like for me, it was tough. Like I cried. Like I remember when I had that epiphany, I was like, damn, all that weight I was putting on myself, like, oh, like I felt so like sorry towards myself for like having all of these like walls and just like labels that I was like all these images of who I thought I had to be. And then when you finally realize like you can just let it go, like it's just like, oh my gosh, like that weight is sort of lifted of like I can finally just like be okay because I have this awareness of what happened in that journey. And like I can finally be like, you know what? Not anymore. Like I'm done. Like I'm done trying to please this ego version of I when, I'm just here to be. Like I'm just here to have fun.
Exactly.
I'm here to express myself. It's like who cares if you're that girl in the middle of the dance floor going crazy? Like, hey, it's for the night. You know what I mean? The music is bumping. Like I'm here to have a good time. And like if you fucks with it, then come on down, like join
Then
the
let's
floor,
have
let's groove. And if you're
fun.
not, like it's okay, boo. Let this experience tap into you, make you question that you have room to grow. Cause we're all
Hmm.
kids, we're all kids. And somehow, like just because our bodies age, we forget that. Like we forget that we're here to have fun. And
Yeah.
when you let go of like this image of of like I have to be this way, and you're
Yeah.
just like, no, this is me, like this is how I feel in the moment, this is like where I'm at in this present. um yeah, you really just like, I don't know, you see there's so much more depth to who you are than like this false image that you were trying so hard to live up to, and you were constantly punishing yourself for like
Hmm.
not living up to it, and you're just like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
"Ugh."
I feel like I'm still going through that process though. Like I'm still, it's hard when I think like it seemed like it was harder on me because it was like from a very young age I was already labeled a certain way. It was like, oh, she is the dancer, you know? So it was like I could never see myself as anything other than that. Like I even have traumas from school, like that, like only starting to show themselves now. Like even when I was home for the pandemic, I went to go get my license, and I had to study. I had to like be in class, and that within itself gave me so much anxiety. And I'm like, what is
Hmm.
this? I
Yeah.
went for the exam. I had a panic attack. I was crying before I went to go take a freaking driving theory exam. And that's when I realized, like,
Oh shit. Yeah.
girl, you wasn't like, like, I'm like, you wasn't even that bad in school, girl. You was just an average student, but you didn't want to be there. And now you have all these things in your head that tells you, like, oh God, you don't know how to study, you don't know how to be in school. School was never your thing. Da, 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 da. Like you tell yourself all these stories, and like that literally manifested in me having a whole breakdown going for the exam, because it was just a reminder of like how I put into my head that like I was a failure at this and I was only good
Exactly.
at that.
Exactly.
And even up till now, like just holding on to this label of like, like what would happen if I stopped dancing, for example? Like, would I disappoint people? Would that, like, all the young people that were like inspired by my journey, would that make them look at me a different way? And like
Mm.
now I'm really in this phase of like, actually, like I always knew, I just could never admit to myself that like dance is not what I want to do forever. And when I became a DJ, that also helped me realize like, okay, this one label that you had, how were you holding yourself back from being so much more because you just thought that that's all that you could be, you know?
Yeah.
And then when I started DJing, I was like, girl, you was never just a dancer, you've been an artist, like you've been expressing
Yeah.
yourself through your art. And I'm like, what else can you do? And then I'm like, actually, you know what? Like I actually was always wants to be a life coach. And I know now, because I'm more able to like admit it to myself, that that's a part of my purpose.
Yeah.
But it was like, and it's like life can't go any other way, right? You have to go through the whole journey and experience this and be honest with yourself along the way to be like, oh, did all these steps are showing me, like, leading me to like where I really and truly need to be.
Yeah.
But if I had never had that break during the pandemic to like reassess, like, again, who is Bianca outside of like the label? What is it that I really love and want to do? And like, how am I going to express myself in this world to make me happiest? And like being honest about that, and then being like, okay, release the external thoughts and the people and the
Exactly.
places and the things, and just be like, okay, like this is okay. Like this is your journey and it's not for anybody else. And
Exactly.
as long as you're happy, like there's gonna be a tribe, there's gonna be a vibe, like just go with what feels good to you. But
Exactly.
it's definitely a journey, because it's like, when you're young, you have all these thoughts and people put things and places and all these things on you, and you have to like come to this point where like you finally realize like, oh wow, I didn't realize all these things were like piling up on me and making me who I am, and now I have to like peel this off and peel that off and look at this and like, oh crap, this is actually, why did I decide to pursue dance? Was it for the right reasons? Like, was it for like validation? Was it like, like, and being open and honest enough to be like, okay, wow, I gotta rethink about my whole
Yeah.
life.
Like, are we really it's like, are we really gonna go there, brain? And it's like, yes, we gonna go there. We gonna peel it off. We gonna leave it just exposed, and then we're gonna see the truth, and then you can build out from there because you'll have the clarity. So anytime you have that, you'll know exactly why you did that, and it'll be clear. That's so incredible. Oh my gosh, like from dance, music to life coaching. I mean, honestly, I see it because like I mean, even on Instagram, like you are always giving people advice, you know what I mean, on different aspects of just like living, whether it be through dance or through your experiences. And I think like people are naturally drawn to your energy because you can tell again, like you're really trying to come from this authentic place of like self discovery and like play, which I think
Yeah.
like the world doesn't see enough of. Like we're not playing enough. And like I feel like, dance is like playing with your body. Music is playing with your ear. And again, like you can only experience music when you're in the present. You can't enjoy a
Yeah.
song if you're in your head, because you're gonna miss the lyrics, you're gonna miss the
Right.
whole like beat drop, all of those moments that are like perfectly curated in synchronicity. You're gonna miss it if you're not in the moment. So it's like
Yeah.
so interesting that you gravitate to these mediums of expression that really force you to have to put your audience in the moment, which
Right.
really gives them a break from their own like anxieties and their own like mental processes that are stopping them from just experiencing life. And when they have that attention, then they can really see that message and see something that like speaks to us deeper than just like yeah, words ever can. And uh, I thought it was so cool when you became a DJ. I'm like, of course, I mean, like to be a dancer, you need to have bomb ass mixes. It makes perfect sense. You would transition to the art of like music. I mean, you play the piano too. Like,
I
I'm
do,
like,
I
of
do, I do, I do, I
course,
do.
it
Yeah.
making sense. It making sense.
I would say that I didn't really see that coming though. Like in my head, I always used to be like, yo, I would if I was a DJ, I would be a bomb. I'm always that person in the car that's like, pass me the aux
I
cord,
feel
pa
you.
pa 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 pa. The whole car is getting lit. Did I have intentions of pursuing a DJ career? Hell no. Like that was the last thing on my mind. The opportunity presented itself, and now when I look back, I'm like, the universe is crazy because there's no like if that wasn't meant to be, it wouldn't have been. How the hell did I
Exactly.
become a DJ? Like, it still blows my mind. And the love that I have for it, I'm like, I'm just grateful, but I'm like, wow, like, you don't plan things sometimes and things just happen. And you just have to be like, wow, I'm grateful for this. Done. Because, like, it really wasn't like the next step to my career. Here's how I amplify BB Bad 2.0.
Yeah.
It was like, it was the middle of the pandemic. I had so much time on my hands. I got to learn and I fell in love with it. And I wanted to do it every day because it was bringing me so much joy.
I
And
feel
luckily,
it.
I had people around me that were like, that saw that I had something and they were like, let's get you on your first event. Let's get you on this. Let's get you on that. And now I'm like, whoa, I have something else that I love. And you're right, like everything that I do is really for the purpose of expression of self in different ways. I never really like thought about it like that.
It's like the best part of like our humanity. Like I look at it as like we're all creators, like all of us. I feel like being in this human incarnation, like we have this body and mind that can think of cool stuff and we can like make it happen. Like we're blessed to be creators, and like when you like are creating from this place of expressing like self, I feel like that's something that translates beyond
Yeah.
any language, beyond any skin color, any preordained idea. Like you feel it because it's like that, it's source, like it's like we're
Yeah.
all amplifying that through our unique perspective of our conscious experiences. And when you see someone that can do that, like to me, it's hard to not be gravitated towards it because it's magnetizing.
Yeah.
Like music is just one of those things that it really can control like the way that people feel, and it's like when you create a mix that like oh it's like cued perfectly, that it's that perfection.
Yes, girl.
It's just like oh like it's like fire. Like if fire was
Yeah.
like a moment, it would make like your body, like your skin crawls, your the
Yeah.
hairs on your skin stand up, and that shit was lit. Like and you can't even deny it, you know what I mean? And so it's like being able to do that, like I have mad respect because sound frequency, like
Sound. Yeah. I feel that. I
amazing,
feel that.
amazing.
I mean, to be honest, like even like that's what like the piano was for me for well is even though I haven't practiced it forever, but
You got
um
talent, man. You don't even need to practice. You just be out here just killing it with melodies. I'm like,
no,
damn, girl.
honestly, if I was a more like and this might sound weird, if I was a more like disciplined, determined person, I feel like I could have been a lot further in a lot of different aspects of my life. Don't do it.
You hella
Don't
disciplined. I don't even want to
I
hear that. Like you just are like you just want to have more time to explore more mediums. I feel it. I feel it. But that's how we got our whole existence, man. We got it. We got time. We got
You're
time.
right. You're right. You're right. I mean, the thing is, it's hilarious. Like because like I don't define myself as a disciplined person. But on the outside, everybody would be like, "What do you mean? You've been doing the same thing your whole life." And I'm like, "Yeah, I
Consistency.
guess you could look at it that way." But I feel like I have so much more.
I
in
feel it.
me to be even
Yeah.
more focused and more
Yeah.
serious and more
Yeah.
disciplined. Is it gonna happen? I don't know. Because honestly, I'm not the type of person to put pressure on myself. I'm like, I don't feel like doing this. Okay.
Hey, it's
And it's
about
just
balance, rest and repeat,
right,
So I
right.
feel it. But I
Yeah.
guess, yeah, like, how do you even go about like defining your musical taste as a DJ or like finding the sounds that speak to you? Because everyone has like a unique sound library, from just like our experiences, how we grow up, especially being in the Caribbean. I feel like we grew up with a lot of like retro like 70s 80s like soft rock and like like very like soulful music, and then it like transitioned. We have like the reggae and the calypso and soca, and then it's like now a bit more trap and R&B and stuff like that. But I'm curious, yeah, like what influenced your sound library, as DJ BB Bad?
That's an interesting question. I would say I'm still trying to find that. Well, what I could say, like, what I know I can't deny is like that major laser sound, that like mix between Caribbean vibes and the EDM world. You remember White Sensations back in the day when we were like 16 at Sagi?
The prime time to be out in the streets.
The best times of my life. And that EDM influenced my world. So anytime I could fuse the worlds of like dancehall, Caribbean vibes, and EDM, I'm like, this shit is hitting me to the core. And I can't explain it, but I'm like, you know what? This is my vibe.
Yes, the frequency is resonating with the spirit, and this is what we finna echo,
This is what
like
we're finna put out, yeah. And
that's awesome.
it's funny, like also like learning to DJ on St. Martin and having to play for a very specific audience that wants to hear very specific things. Like I had to like just be like, Bianca, like this is your vibe. People don't like it, somebody else will. And it was moving to LA and going to a party, I was like, this is where I belong. This is why I would have played. This is like, oh my god, and it's not just one song. They're playing this whole, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. I'm like, whoa. Simatin might not. I could play for Simatin people, but does it really bring me like that amount of joy? Not really, because like I know this song, that song, this song, that song, get everybody lit. Woohoo! I'm so happy you lit, and it's great. That's what the point of DJing again is to like, you want to see people vibe and have a good time. But what's even more amazing is like being in these parties in LA and people not knowing the music, but they're listening again in the moment, waiting for that beat drop. And when that beat drop is like, and I'm like, oh my God, people appreciate sound. Not just like, oh, you about to play that new Drake. It's like sound and what they let that actually flow through them.
Incredible.
And that's why I love it.
It's like you're a channeler, you know what I mean? And it's like that interesting power of like you as a DJ, you're in this role to channel through all of these people to create this vibe. That I mean, they pay for it, they're trying to have a good time. But it's like, yeah, you really have like this ability to like influence the crowd and like you see like when the frequency play, you see the reaction. Like it's like feedback as a DJ, and you have to be like listening and really watching them to really understand like what does this crowd need. Do I need to build them up, or do I need to be bringing them down, or do we need to
Right.
really be like going straight through the roof and like really just excelling this experience of like highs and lows and builds and release and like building to this climax just to have it be a hard cut and they didn't expect that change. And it's like playing with the psychology of like what
Yeah.
we assume as well, because it's like when we hear a song that's familiar, we're like, oh, I know how this song go, like I know
Mm-hmm.
what's gonna be next. But then when the DJ cuts to the next song, you're like, oh shit,
Yeah.
okay. And then it's like you really force people to be in the moment, because again, if
Yeah.
you're not, you're gonna miss it. You're gonna miss the
Yeah.
magic, and like that's what you're there for. And it's like, yeah, like you say, they care about the sound.
The sound, yeah. And I think that like I don't want to like call out Tim Martin in a bad light, you know what I mean? Because people like what they like and it's fine, but it's like that's what was missing. Is like, yes, I'm about to remix this song. A remix is not a bad thing. Listen and appreciate. But for some reason, it's again, it's almost like they're not there. It's like just play what we know and we will vibe to that. But it's like, how can I switch my mind to appreciate this different sound? And I don't know what that comes from. I don't know where that comes from. I don't know how to tell somebody to be that or do that, but it just so happens that
Mm,
like I'm in LA and I'm like,
they get it.
whoa,
Yeah.
these people get it. Cause it's like you don't know. I don't know this song, but I'm like, it's building, it's building, it's building, it's building, and everybody just
You
on the
feel the
same.
energy.
It's just
Yeah.
an energy, and it's an appreciation, but it's not in every space. And I think African people and Caribbean people are very particular for some reason.
Hmm. That is interesting because I feel like being particular robs you of experiencing the spectrum of music. Like, there's such a lot of good stuff out there, even the country, I'm not a fan of it all the
Me either.
time, but they got one or two tracks that if you play that shit right, I'm gonna be like, yeah, this banging. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling the
Yeah.
vibe. But it's like, yeah, I feel like it's interesting because you would think like especially in St. Martin where there's such diversity in like different cultures and like the types of music you might come across because of that. Like for me, like in my household we had like Caribbean music, but then there's also like Indian music, which you wouldn't really hear on the radio in St. Martin, but like I
Right.
heard it because it's in my household. And so like just even that like influencing my taste in music and like just like the types of instruments that you gravitate towards, whether it be like piano or like saxophone and like notes of that, especially in like Afro beats. Like it's like this thing that I don't know, it just speaks to like the essence of who we are. And sometimes I do think it is a shame that people aren't willing to just like be open to what
Have an
can happen.
experience.
Yeah, have an experience that maybe is not what you would expect because then it shows you like it gives you opportunity to discover yourself, discover like, oh my god, like this is a sound that I didn't even know I would like, but this shit is fire. Let me
Mm-hmm.
go deep dive.
Yep.
And then you discover new parts of yourself and then you continue to grow and evolve. And it's just like this like continuous process of like discovering, learning, playing, trying,
Mm-hmm.
and then when I feel like you do that enough, you form cultures, you form trends, you form movements, you form community. But if you don't give yourself like that freedom to just try, to fail, to experiment, to mix things up, you're never really gonna grow outside of that. And yeah, maybe that's our small island mentality. We like our sound the way that it is, but I feel like as a young generation, I'm trying to rock the boat. I'm like, I'm over this. Okay, I'm trying to
Yeah.
rock,
Mm-hmm.
rock it, rock it, rock it
Yeah.
back into alignment or whatever, so that yeah we can play again like Jesus, like come on now, like let's have
Yeah.
fun.
It's
Life is too
society though.
short to not have fun.
It's society. Like just the images and what people say of like what we supposed to be, what we supposed to do, how serious we supposed to take life. Like again, like just going back to what you said, like it is about awareness, but unfortunately, like not enough people get to that place soon enough. So then by the time you
Mm.
start to become aware of yourself, you're probably already like 30 years old and you're like, well, I've been this person for like the past 30 years of my life. So like, yeah, I
Let's
recognize
just
this, I
keep it
recognize that.
going.
Let's just keep
Yeah,
it like this. But like,
it's like
I think
no.
once you really question like why am I here? What am I supposed to do? Like you flow different. It's not just like this anxiousness of like, let me work this 9 to 5 job. It's like, yo, like what kind of impact am I supposed to have? Who even am I? And then you like find this love for growth and you just always want to grow. But not everybody thinks that way. Not everybody wants to look at themselves and go through this uncomfortable phases of like, damn, this was a lie, this was fake, how can I be my authentic self? Because that hurts and that's a lot to go through.
It
So it's
does
like
hurt
it's not
indeed.
everybody that wants to go through that process.
Mm.
And I think that that within itself just puts you on a different wavelength from other people because you were willing to go down a path that a lot of people are not. And I think more people would be more willing, but society does not promote the questioning of self. It's just like we put you in school, we put you in these programs to like train you to be and do things a certain way.
Train you to be somebody instead of being, honestly. That's what it is. It's training you to be someone and not to be yourself. Oof. Mind blown. Exactly. I love
Preach.
that deep breath right there. I was like, I felt it. I felt it. Woo. But yeah, I mean, honestly, just seeing you though echo that message, through your platform of like really trying to inspire people to be more of themselves and you just taking the space for yourself too and like realizing like, you know what, I need time away from social media. I need time to just regroup, reprioritize, reflect, spend some time doing introspection so that when
Yes.
I come out here, I really come out here with intention, and it's not just me taking up space just because I need to create marketing content to stay relevant
Right, right,
because
right.
the industry is always like what's new, what's next, who poppin'. But really coming from this place of authenticity so it's sustainable. So like throughout your career, like even though like branding, personal branding is a weird it's like capitalism, but it's like the authentic nature of like when someone's like who is Bianca, you know what that essence is because it's like as much as you're evolving it's still in line with, like, you're still being you, so it's never like, as much as you change, it's still always gonna feel like Bianca,
From a real place. It's not like, oh, she
Yeah.
changed this for marketing purposes. It's
Dead,
like, wow.
exactly.
It's like it's cool to like let people come on this journey with me as I continue to find myself, you know? And a lot of times it does feel like a lot of pressure because I'm like, oh my god, I'm about to put out this aspect of myself that's going to seem so new to everybody else. So like, how is everybody going to take this? And then I'm like, Bianca, this is you. Just put it out. Just put it out.
Exactly. You're just having fun, it's just expressing yourself. But honestly, I think like every time you put out new work or like, it's always just you see the energy. And like I feel like that is the thing that like really people love is like you really see that authentic fun energy and it's magnetic. Yeah, it's
Oh,
magnetic.
thank you. I appreciate that.
No problem. I mean,
I do.
I don't know. Like you say, your vibe attracts your tribe. And I feel like, yeah, your vibe for sure is one that I have no doubt will attract the people you need to get you where you want to be. Because, like you say, you're not gonna give up. Like this is your life. Like this is what you're gonna do, every day, regardless of what happens. And yeah, it's just it's incredible to meet people that are like that because then, especially as St. Maarteners, it's just like, yeah, like you have a squad you can look back to and you're like, nah, my people are representing. I cannot drop the ball. Like,
Hmm.
gotta keep it strong, because what you do without a doubt like it definitely influences and inspires people to be like I'm gonna go after it, I'm gonna go and go down that path that's maybe less traveled and figure out what it is that makes my soul just blossom
Yeah, exactly.
and just operate from there
Yeah, that is
yeah.
what I'm an advocate of over everything else. Like, I always say this, but it's like, find what you love to do and just do that shit. Because you living for your parents, you living for society, you living for your church. When these people dead and gone, and you have to look back at your life and you're like, what? Did I really just live my life for somebody else? You gonna have resentment towards everybody else, but really and truly, like, that's why no, like, I don't want to say figure it out now. Like, figure it out whenever you figure it out, but like, don't be scared to like take that chance. Don't be scared to live in that uncertainty, because that's where like, what is life about? Is it about getting this stable job and making money to be able to survive while you're not happy? Because realistically, okay, you could go to school and prepare yourself for this job and still not get that job and still be unhappy. Take a freaking chance on what it is that you love, because when you pursue what you love, you are healing the world. You are authentically giving something that nobody else could give, and that within itself is making a change that the people around you need. So when you're not living from that space of like, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, you kind of, you you're robbing yourself and you're robbing the world of something that we need to make us better, you know? So it's like, F all of this society and like who thinks I need to do what. Like, pursue your happiness, pursue your passions, because that will lead you to happiness, and happiness will lead you to abundance, which means that you will not be in a place where you can't take care of yourself and flourish. Because when you're living in an authentic space, there's no way that the universe is not going to provide for you. When you're not living authentically, that's when you have to worry and stress about what's coming next and what am I going to do. Da, da, da. if it's one thing I would say, Jesus, Lord, universe, Christ, whatever the hell it is, take
Source,
that
I feel
source
it.
energy. Just take the message and go with it. Because you talk to the older people, I wish I was just living for me. I wish I just tried and did what I wanted to do. Like, gosh, don't get to the end of your life and feel that way. Because then, Lord knows, you're dead, you're never coming back, or you're coming back and you have to do it all over again. So whatever
And
it
you
is that you
forget.
believe,
Exactly.
and then you
Don't even
forget, and then
remember. You're like, shit. Repeating
you're like, why am
cycles.
I here? Cycle. Okay, let's try this time. Why am I here? Okay, make a difference. Oh, I love it.